Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Hess, and today we're going to use Azure to read a PDF, pull out the data, push it into a SharePoint list, and fill out the metadata. Today we're going to do it without SharePoint Premium or a Power Automate Premium connector. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Hess, and this was a requested video. What we're going to do is we're going to go to Azure, so you can get a free subscription to Azure. When I speak about these license models, things change, so never trust exactly what I'm saying. You got to do your own research. But today we're going to look at what we can get out of free from Azure. So we can get a free Azure account, and you may have to put in your credit card, but things are free for now. So you have some popular services, but what I like to do is I like to go to see all free services. And if you go in here, you can see everything that you can get for free. If you look at the free period, you can see, how long you can get these for free. But what we're going to look at is right here. What we want to do is Azure AI Document Intelligence for up to 12 months. There's a free 500-page tier. So let's do some OCR. Right now, I believe it's free for 12 months. So what I like to do is I go to More Services. And here you can see all the services in Azure, right? So let's zoom in a little bit more, see if we can zoom in. Where we're going to focus today is Document Intelligences. So I'm going to create a new Document Intelligence. And I'm going to delete this right after the video. So if you see my information, you need to set all this up. Whatever you see, I'm going to delete this right after the video so you won't be able to access my information. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the new Document Intelligence resource, the pricing tier. So right here you can see free 500 pages per month, 20 calls per minute. So you can't just do this really, really fast. It's 20 calls per minute. And then there's some limitations on the calls per minute when training. So we're only going to train one model. So we're not worried about that speed. We're going to do the free tier. We're going to review and create. And I'm going to create. Now I'm going to delete this right after the video because I don't want anyone to use up my free 500 pages. So we'll just see this, we'll deploy it, and this will take a few minutes, and then we'll get started. All right, my new Azure resource has been created. You can see the naming structure I gave it here. So this is somewhere that maybe you want to decide with your company, the naming structure of your resources in Azure. I have the resource type, the environment, the project name, and then the location. So that's my naming structure. So I'm going to click on the Azure Document Intelligence resource. And I'm going to go to Document Intelligence Studios. All right, now there's a lot of options in here. And if we zoom in, you might see it a little bit more like this. But there's a lot of options in here. You can read, layout. You can study all this that you want. There's pre-built models, and pre-built models are cheaper. But we're using the free tier right now. So I want to do a custom extraction model. I want to take some data, and I want to pull it out. Now there's also classification. So if you have different types of documents, then you want to classify them, maybe by a content type or something. All of this is it's being done by SharePoint Premium in a different way, but we're doing it through Azure now. So we're going to do a custom extraction model. There is a video that you can watch if you want to watch the video of how to do this. It used to be called Azure Form Recognizer. So we'll keep going, and we're going to create a project. So I'm not going to go through all of this because some of this is private, but project name, we'll say this is fax test, test OCR on faxes. We'll continue. This is where I'm going to skip through. This is some things you need to figure out. This is where cost comes in. So I'm going to skip through this part a little bit. So these are going to be my templates. I went to Word and just found one of the most basic templates, and it was a fax template. And the objective now is to drop these templates into my Document Intelligence Studio. So now we've loaded up our custom extraction model. We have it in there. Now I want to drag and drop at least 10. I'm going to recommend at least 10. Microsoft says at least 5. I'm going to say at least 10. I don't care what your data is, because if you have to do it over again, you have to wait for the entire process. You have to train the model. Try to do it right the first time. So I'm just going to browse. I'm going to take all of them. Let's see. I have 10 of them. I'm going to drop them in. I am not going to do auto label. Some people may do auto label. I'm going to do it myself because maybe there's some pieces that I don't want the document intelligence to try and label. So I'm going to run the layout and do it for now. Do it now. So now I'm just going to run it, and it's going to try and find some key fields here. It's kind of found what it wanted. All right, so we finished the analysis. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to add fields, and I'm going to keep this simple just for the demo purposes. As soon as we go into complexities, maybe that's where you need to do some learning, but I'm just going to do a field, and we're going to say 2. That's all this is. It's the 2 field right here. 2. I'm going to do the next one. Field, fax. I have fax here. I'm going to click on fax. I'm going to highlight this area. It's now fax. Phone. Maybe I should have done this a little bit different. Let's try 2 phone. And let's rename this one to 2 fax. All right. And then let's just keep creating fields for right now. Field 2 subject. Or maybe we can just call this subject. And then we have FromFax, from phone, date. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to pull in the comments. I didn't change that in the template. I think what's important is the data, the metadata behind it. So the comments we're going to not do. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on 2 phone. I'm going to highlight that area. 2 phone. Subject, make sure to highlight all the area is subject. From. Fax. This is FromFax. And this is from phone. And this is date. And now we want to do that on every single document. We should have 10 of them here. So 3, 6, 9, 10. So now I want to do that on every single one. I want to map out the fields, the 2 fax, the phone, and the subject. Now, the reason I want to do it on every single one, let's see if I have an example. On one of my examples, I threw in a little bit of extra. So you can see here under Gia. Wonderful job. Thank you, everyone. I made this one on 2 lines just to kind of try and throw it off to say, hey, this one can actually be 2 lines. So this is the 2 phone, 2 fax, and 2. So, you know, this is using what's called a neural model, not just a template model. Things can be in different places. It doesn't have to be an exact template. That's the power of Azure AI, right? You're actually using the vision model, AI model, not just a simple template model. And we're actually going to train it based on this data. So let's make sure we grab all of that. There we go. So we are actually training a model. We're not just creating this template model. And training a model, imagine you had resumes. And resumes are in different places. People put fields in different places. It can actually identify maybe your skills in different places, in different documents, because you're actually training the model. You are not just building a template OCR model. This is trained in a neural network, neural AI network. And we'll get into that more later. So as I'm doing this, notice how the color codes really help me. Just kind of pay attention, and keeping them in order also helps me at the same time. So it's really important to kind of notice these things, notice the colors. Let's say I accidentally clicked from twice. You see how the colors are the same? This can help you and say, oh, I made a mistake. The colors should not be the same, right, in order like that. Use all the functionality that Microsoft is giving us in this Document Intelligence Studio. It's really nice. And so while I'm doing this, I'll probably skip through the video, and we'll get back to you once I've identified all of these columns. Okay, I've gone through every single file that I have, all the PDFs. So all of these are PDFs, notice that. So you want to be very careful before you hit the train data button. It all looks good. And if you have some anomalies, I would call this like an anomaly where this subject line is in 2 lines. Make sure to add that to your training data. You know, you want your data to have some weird data in there. So it knows to train it on there. All right, so I think everything is looking good. I'm going to triple check one last time, and then we're going to train the model. I'm going to hit the train button. Train model ID. So this is something that's going to appear in Power Automate when we use it. So we'll call it test fax. YouTube today. This is our test fax model. Notice here we have template and neural, right? We want to use this neural AI model. So I'm going to click the train button. This should not take too long. It says right here it can take up to an hour to finish. So I'm going to not make you watch the whole hour. We'll come back and we'll design a Power Automate based on this neural AI model. Okay, it looks like it successfully trained. So you can see here the status is succeeded. It didn't take too long. Let's see. I think it only took 15 minutes this time. So it's a Sunday. It kind of depends on when you do it. It's successfully trained. So let's get into it. So if we click on it and we do test, it gives us all this information in here. Let's drop one in there. So I'm going to run analysis here. I just dropped one in here. Now, remember, the same PDFs that you use to train, do not use for testing. Use different templates, right? You don't want to test with the same templates that you use to train on. So we'll run analysis. Right, you just want to make sure that you get, like a good set of data. And you can see here that we have the subject, the to phone, the from, the to, FromFax. It all looks correct. So if we zoom in here, we can really see it in there. We can see, oh yeah, it's pulling it in there perfectly correct. Now this just doesn't have to be text. Like this can literally be handwritten too. Really neat stuff. So we have our fields, right? And then look right here, result. Now we have the JSON of all the data. Look at that. We have the JSON of all the data. And notice it's very long. I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to put it in a notepad for right now, just so I can have it later on in Power Automate. All right, so what I'm actually going to do is I have my document here on the right side. So I can actually pull that over probably some. And then I have a SharePoint list. I'm going to create the columns in SharePoint. Okay, so we have our columns now in SharePoint. Now let's go to Power Automate and create a flow. I'm going to do an automated cloud flow, right? I want it to be automated. And it is going to be when a file is, let's see if we can, we'll just skip for now. We'll name it tax test because that's, or not tax. Oh, geez. Fax test, and we'll skip here for now. And my trigger, make sure we're zoomed in a good bit. There we go. My trigger, we're going to search for SharePoint. I'm going to see more. And we're going to say when a new file is added, not when an item, when a file is created in a folder, no. When a file is created, properties only. All right, so we're going to find our SharePoint site that's called Automagically. The folder name is our fax test. All right, so now we have our trigger. This is what starts it. Okay, now that we grabbed the file, we got the properties only. What we want to do is we want to get the file content. So file content. Now this is where I'm a little bit biased. I like to use file content using path. Some people like to use get file content. I like to use the path. That's just me being a little biased. Automagically. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a file in there. Let's just put a file in there. Okay, let's go back to Power Automate. So now I'm going to click on this file. We're going to find the library name, which is fax test. And I'm going to select the file that's in there. So that's the one we just uploaded. But now right here, this is where we're going to be dynamic. I'm going to insert a dynamic content. And that is going to be the file name. So the name, not with extension, just the name. And then we have, and then it always does this is something Power Automate does. It removes that slash. We got to add that slash back. Okay, so we've got the file content. Now we are going to push this to what's called Form Recognizer. Now this is the old name of it, Form Recognizer, but today, right now, Power Automate has not updated the name. So it's under Form Recognizer, and you'll know you're in the right place when you see this little logo right here. You see this logo? This is what we want. So we're gonna click on See More, and then we are going to, right here, Analyze Document for Pre-Built or Custom Model. And this is what we want because we created a custom model. All right, so now it's asking for the name of your connection. So this is a personal thing. This is what you want to name the actual connection. This is fax test. Now, Form Recognizer, account key, and endpoint URL. And when you're in Microsoft Azure, this is where you have your keys, right? And this is your endpoint URL. So if we look at Power Automate, the endpoint URL, and I'm going to delete this. Just warning you right now, I'm deleting it 100%. That's my endpoint URL. Now our key right here, notice right here, these keys are used to access your Azure AI API services. Do not share your keys. This is a YouTube video. I'm going to delete this. Do not share your keys. So you're going to copy, and then you're going to paste in your key here. And you're going to click Create New. All right, now that we've created our connection, now we want the model identifier. Let's see, does it have it in there? Okay, so for the model identifier, this is the name of our model. And right here, text fax YouTube today. That's the name, that's our model ID. So you can see that's our model ID. This is where it's succeeded. Let's push that into the file identifier. Then you see here we have document image URL. Well, I'm not going to use the URL. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click Show All. And I'm going to push in the image file content. What I'm going to do, and this is just something I like to do, I compose, and then I put in the body, let's see here, of the document. So let's try see more, the body, status, message, search for body. I just want the body. I want the whole thing. That's just me. But this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to get the body. I'm going to click Save. And I'm going to test it manually. Let's see if, before I get really too far deep in here, let's see if this works right now. So manual test. All right, we're saving. We have our file identifier in there. We have our credentials for Azure, our key pairs. Now it's pushing through the model, and now it's going to compose and send us back the body. So this body right here in the compose statement, now that it's successfully ran, let's see if we can get that. I want the outputs, the raw outputs. This JSON is going to match the same JSON that we saw before inside Azure. So it's this huge long JSON, right? So we have a very, very long JSON. Let's take it all and let's copy it. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit. And now we're going to parse that JSON. So we're going to click here, add an action, parse JSON. So now we're going to parse that JSON. And we had that in a Word text file. So I'm going to take this example. I'm going to put a sample payload in here, paste it in there, and click Done. So now we have a nice schema. And we can just pull in our compose statement. That's our outputs. Now you could probably pull in the body if you wanted to, because it's just pulling in the body to the compose statement. The compose statement is now going to the parse JSON. Now we've parsed it, but let's take a look at if we try and add to SharePoint. So now SharePoint, we have our files, right? So we want to update the file properties. So let's see, update file properties. And we're going to choose our SharePoint site automatically. Our library name was our fax test. The ID is the one that we got from the very beginning when the file was created. And so this will give us some fields to fill out. So we have the title, now 2. Now take a look at this. When we do the parse JSON, look at all this information in here. It's madness, right? Like there's too much information in there. I don't know what I want to pull out. So this is where I use compose statements to start pulling out little pieces of my parse JSON. Now this is opinion. This is how I do it. Someone else may do it a different way. But to me, this is the easy way for me to do it. So this may take you some time. So instead of having this take you some time, I'm just gonna give you the equation, but you just gotta find out, okay, you gotta follow the indentation of your JSON. So while I search this JSON, what I really want is I wanna go in one indentation, documents, then I wanna go to fields, then I wanna pull out the value string. But if you notice, documents is more than one, so we have to say, okay, there could be more than one. That's what Power Automate is gonna assume. So we're gonna do documents, fields, value string, and then we're gonna pull that out. So in my compose statement, FX formula, from the parse JSON, I'm gonna pull in the body parse JSON, the analyze results, the documents. Now there could be more than one, so there could be more than one model. We're gonna pull in the documents, the fields, FromFax, and then the value string. So this is what we're gonna do for one compose statement. We're gonna add and update our file. It's gonna be FromFax, compose one. We probably wanna rename this compose FromFax. Let's just make sure that shows up correctly here. You can hover over it and you see it says outputs FromFax. Now I'm gonna create a compose statement for every single one. And the reason I'm doing this is just that JSON is so long. And this helps me break it down. So we just need to look at our document. So let's look at our document again. I'm going to do the other fields. So the other fields, let's see, it's 2. And I'm pretty sure this is case sensitive, so you have to be very careful. Compose 2. So we're just going to name it that. Compose FX. Here, let's see, the next one is 2fax. Add. And just name it 2fax, compose 2fax. I'm going to do each one of these, compose. And there may be a better way to do this. I'm welcome to you show me how you do it. This is just how I like to do it. To me, this breaks it down and makes it logical for me. So if you know a better way that you like to do it to phone, feel free to share. I don't mind learning new things. Obviously, that's the point right now. This stuff is all new. So it's great to learn new things. So compose to phone. Let's see, compose again. This gives me a lot more control. And I know if there's a lot of fields, but you know, that's just what you got to do. This one is subject. Subject, compose subject. But like say I wanted to convert something to a date or I wanted to do data manipulation, it's really nice that I have each one of these fields, right, already set up for me. So I could add in something if I wanted to. I could send something to an AI model. Doing this gives me a lot of control. And I guess when I do all this data manipulation, it's kind of good to go through each field one by one. We already did FromFax. Now we need to do from phone. So compose. Let's see here. Compose. FX formula. It's good. Repetition is also good. Repetition is how I normally learn. Doing things repeatedly kind of gets my brain thinking. From phone. And then finally we have the date. So the date may be a little bit different. Let's take a look at that one. So you have to remember that different value types are different. Right now we kept it pretty simple. Let's take a look at this one. Let's find date in here, not content date. Let's go all the way down. There it is, date. Notice this one says value string here, so that's okay. Type string. Everything looks okay. Actually, it may be okay. There, maybe it'll just work. Let's just try and see if it works first. Okay, so let's do 2fax. Compose 2fax. So notice I named all the composes. That really helps me out. To phone. What do we got here next? Subject. This one is just from phone. Oh, now I deleted one. Now what did I do? Click show all again. Okay, bring it back. From phone. It doesn't want to show up for me. from phone. There it goes. Now date. Let's see if date just works right out of the box. That would be nice, wouldn't it? If I don't have to do any manipulation. And then finally 2. So we have all that information in there. We have all those compose statements. We parsed it. We pulled everything out. I'm going to hit save. If we go back to SharePoint, let's check out SharePoint again. All right, we have our file in here. We can just go back to Power Automate. We can test. We can do automatically. Let's test it automatically again. Let's run it. It's going to analyze again, compose, parse, compose all of that, and then hopefully update our file properties automatically in our SharePoint list. And I love all that green. Let's go to the SharePoint list. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, press refresh. There we go. Look at that. Dropped it in, has all that information, has the subject, FromFax, date, everything. Now I can easily just take another one. Let's say I take, let's try this one, drop it in, refresh, let it do its magic behind the scenes. It's doing all this for free. I can do this 500 times per month for a year. So while we're thinking about other options, or if we want to pay for it or prepare to pay for it, we now have this working up to 500 times for this model per month for an entire year. Thank you, Microsoft, for that license model. So we've dumped our information in there. We're just waiting for it to refresh. And notice that none of these actions are premium. This action is not a premium Power Automate action. So let's just double check that. Form recognizer, where are you? You see this? There's no premium. Form recognizer is not premium. We can do this 500 times a month for a year for free. So when I go to SharePoint, it don't even need to refresh. It's pulled all that information in there from a PDF. Magically, we're done. Azure, thank you. I know I put my credit card in there, but I'm doing this for free. Thank you, Microsoft. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. Let's take a look at it again. We have our fax document. We have a nice template. We're pulling this information into SharePoint for free using Azure. Now, things may change. Do not trust me. Do your research. But right now, today, I'm doing this for free, 100%, 500 times per month. Thank you all for watching. See you next time.